breakfast. Then I threw back my covers, put one leg over to see if the floor was still there, and waited for the smell of cinnamon toast to come drifting up the stairs. Naturally, there would be cinnamon toast for breakfast. It was one of my favorite foods, and I knew that my mother would do everything to dull the pain, preparing my favorite breakfast and all that. I could have told her that she was wasting her time, because I knew that I'd hardly touch anything. "Rupert!" My mother never gives up. I shot myself in and out of the clothes closet in 3 seconds, took another 15 seconds to dress, grabbed my glasses from the desk, and polished them on my trousers as I sauntered down the stairs. I'd forgotten to put on my shoes, but my mother seemed to know I was coming anyway. "Rupert, have you brushed your teeth?" she called through the dining room from the kitchen. "Yes," I said. "Did you brush them thoroughly?" "Yes," I shouted, coming through the kitchen door. My father looked up from the morning newspaper. "What your mother means is, did you brush your teeth this morning?" "Oh," I said, turning and going back out the door. I forgot about my teeth on the way to the bathroom, but when I stopped to feed my fat guinea pig Guinevere her nutritionally balanced diet, I did remember something else. "Where are they?" I shouted down the stairs. My father replied, "Did you try your mouth? They were there last night." My father thinks he's very funny. "I meant my sneakers," I shouted. "Oh," my father shouted back. "Try the bookshelf, dear," shouted my mother. I did, and found my sneakers on top of my book, Science for the Intermediate Scientist, which I thumbed through before heading back downstairs. "And how is the law this morning?" asked my father. His voice sounded hollow, coming from behind an extra-large coffee cup marked "To Father" in red nail polish. I'd done that in kindergarten, where I became a great artist. I threw myself down at the table. "Very funny," I said. "I'm miserable if you really care to know." "I wouldn't have asked if I didn't," said my father. "Never mind, dear," said my mother, putting down in front of me a glass of milk, a glass of orange juice, a plate on which were 2 fried eggs surrounded by 6 slices of bacon, and a smaller plate, which had on it a neat stack of 3 pieces of cinnamon toast. "Eat your breakfast and you'll feel better." I gazed off into space. "I told you I didn't think I'd be able to eat," I said. "Well, do the best you can," said my mother. She turned back to the stove and put 2 more slices of cinnamon toast under the broiler. "Cheer up, old man," said my father. I caught him looking at me over the top of his paper and quickly put down the slice of toast I was biting into. "You know," he went on, "the first day of school isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. You've lived through 2 or 3 that I can remember." "The only thing worse than the first day of school is the first day of school next year," I said as I forced down the last of my first egg. "And anyway, who's going to look after all my experiments while I'm gone all day?" I choked down the remainder of my orange juice. "I'm sure the guinea pigs will survive. You're starving Hector anyway, and Guinevere has enough lard around her middle to carry her across the Sahara Desert without another meal. And as for the orange, I'm sure it will rot away happily without anyone to mother it for a few hours." "I hope so," I said. "I can't let school interfere with the progress of science." "Well, I'm sure the school doesn't want to," said my father. "Anyway, I'm glad to see that you managed to swallow a little breakfast," he said, looking at my empty milk glass, empty orange juice glass, and 2 empty plates. I ignored this funny remark. "Won't you have another slice of toast?" my mother asked, pulling the pan from the broiler. I was busy thinking, so when she put the piece of toast on my plate, I picked it up and began to munch on it without noticing. "I'm not very hungry," I said, "but I guess I will." "Will what?" asked my mother. "Have another piece of toast," I said. "Oh," said my mother, and put the last piece on my plate. "Atta boy," said my father, rising from the table. "The sun will shine again. Things will look brighter tomorrow. I wish I could be entering the 5th grade again."